What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to our 31 Days of Halloween Countdown. And today we're going to talk about Rob Zombie's Halloween Part 2. Now, the other day, I talked about Rob Zombie's Halloween Part 1, and I was pleasantly surprised. It's been a long time since I've seen that film. I couldn't stand that film for the longest time. But now, I actually enjoy it. It's a decent slasher. It really is. Again, not as good as Carpenter's, but in my opinion, it's a better film than I gave it credit for. Now that brings us to Halloween Part 2. Rob Zombie's Halloween Part 2. I don't own this movie physically, but luckily AMC Plus, by way of Amazon Prime, did have this on there. It's the theatrical version of the film, so I was able to check that out. Now, in a lot of people's opinion, that this is a complete and total mess. It's not a good film at all. But it's not the worst film I've seen either. It's watchable if you have an idea of what to look for in the film. I did my research, everybody. I did. I know about the theatrical version, and I know the differences in the unrated version as well. The ending, completely different between the theatrical and the unrated. But, for the most part, we gotta say it. This is a Laurie Strode film. It's not really a Michael Myers film. At the beginning of this film, had Rob Zombie, and this is, again, my opinion, but I think with some directors, they need to be reeled in a little bit. If you just set a guideline for them to go, they'll be fine. But some can go off the rails. And for me, that's kind of what happened. He had a blueprint of what to follow with the first Halloween film. And he kind of kept, trying to really, other than the fact of adding in how Michael, things happen with Michael, why he is the way he is. But for the most part, he tried to still keep that essence of Carpenter. With this film, he basically had free reign to do what he wanted. I mean, he wasn't even going to come back and make this film just because it was such a headache with everything that went on behind the scenes with the first film. And they had to promise him some, certain things in order to get him to come back for this one. So, but again, they gave him free reign to go ahead and do what he wanted to do. And boy, did he ever. There are things that are completely crazy. I mean, he had to find a way to bring Sheri Moon Zombie, his wife, in real life, bring her back again for another one of his films. Even though she died in the first one, but we'll bring her back. It's kind of like a vision that Michael has in his head, and she has this white horse that she walks with. She has this white gown. Really, really weird. Does not fit Halloween whatsoever. But at the beginning of this film, it feels like a Halloween film. Picks up just like in the original Halloween 2, but it picks up again same night. Laurie has just presumably killed Michael with a gunshot to the head, and she's in the hospital. Now Michael is not dead. He is very much alive. He makes his way to the hospital, and this is where it works. In the original Halloween 2, the majority of the film takes place in the hospital, and it works. I like it. There's not a lot of staff. There's a really eerie feeling with not a lot going on. Not a lot of people on staff there at the hospital, and Michael just picks them off one by one. And this film, for the most part, same exact way. Not a lot of people on staff, and it gets a creepy kind of feeling. But unfortunately, it does not last that long because you find out that it was just Laurie having a dream. A year has passed now since the incident from the year before. And, everybody keeps telling Michael's dead. She thinks Michael's dead. But he is not dead. That part is true. He is not dead. And he is making his way to Haddonfield once again. And anybody who has now befriended Laurie in this previous year, in this, year since what happened previously, they are going to meet their demise too. You cannot be friends with Laurie Strode and survive in these films. Just not going to happen. So, you pick up where you see these things with Michael. It's when when Michael Myers is on screen, the kills are brutal. They're awesome. They work. They really, really work. But this is mostly about Laurie's descent into madness, realizing who she really is. That she is really Michael Myers' sister, and that she is Michael Myers, his sister, and it's a hard film to talk about because there's just so many weird things that do happen in this. But again, it's her descent into madness throughout this whole film. Now with the theatrical version of the film, which is the one I saw, she's more of a I want to say laid back and chill character throughout. I mean, she's going to see a psychiatrist. You know, she's living with Annie and her father, and she's not really like going off the deep end too much until later in the film when she finally does realize, because Dr. Loomis has written a book and it basically exposes the fact that she is Michael Myers' sister. And Dr. Loomis in this film, Malcolm McDowell once again, he's a scumbag in this film. He's self-absorbed. He's written a book. He's all about making money. Completely not the traditional Dr. Loomis that you would think you would see. Now, yes, he does try to redeem himself at the end of the film. So, I mean, that does happen or does come back around. But the unrated version, Laurie is just off the deep end, like right off the bat. I mean, there's things, visions that she is having. You know, she tells her psychiatrist that, you know, she has vision of killing Annie, basically the same way that Michael performed his real first big kill in Rob Zombie's Halloween Part 1. But there are differences. There's, you know, more interaction that goes on between the two different versions. The biggest, you know, other than how Laurie acts in the film, between being like a calmer version in the theatrical, and she's just kind of like just crazy, like just really, really going off the deep end in the unrated. But the big difference is the end of the film. Because when we get to the end of the film, and again, I don't want to really, so if you don't want to hear any spoilers or how, I mean, there's many videos on YouTube that give you the, you know, show you the ending, because that's exactly what I had to do. I had to find a clip of the unrated to compare to the theatrical. That was my only way to be able to do it and see the big difference between, you know, in this film. So I'm going to go ahead with some spoilers right now. If you don't want to hear them, you know, you can stop it right now and come back later. But one of the big differences is that at the very end, you have, you know, Michael has, you know, taken Laurie, and they're in this shack, basically. And the cops are surrounding this, telling Michael, you know, come on out. Loomis shows up. Now he's had his change of heart, and he tells the sheriff, listen, I want to help you. I need to, this is what I need to do. You know, I owe this much to you. And, you know, the sheriff tells him, you know, no, I don't want your help. Get out of here. But Loomis goes in anyway. Well, Loomis gets slashed to death by Michael. He just gets brutalized. But Michael kind of like, in the line, Loomis does his job basically, because what he wants, even though he knows he's going to die, trying to negotiate and, you know, reason with Michael, he pulls him into the site, gunfire, and the sniper is able to take down Michael. Michael stumbles backwards and goes into all this like lawn equipment, like lawn or garden equipment that's in the back, and he just impales himself. So, with that now happening, you know, Loomis is dead, Michael is dead. Laurie comes on out of the shack, and she is donning the Michael Myers mask. She is completely now gone off the deep end. Flash forward, now she's basically in a, you know, in a ward, just like Michael was when he was younger. And that's how the film ends, and she's completely gone off the rocker. Now she is envisioning her mother, Sheri Moon Zombie, with that same white horse. So she's completely lost it. The unrated version of the film has Loomis still dying, but him and Michael, they break through the one wall of the shack, and they are basically, now Loomis, you know, pretty much dies right there. Michael gets gunned down. Does not have the mask on either, which is interesting. You see the face, and Michael does speak a word. Tells Loomis basically to die. It's the one word that Michael says. But he gets gunned down. Laurie comes out of the shack, and you can see she doesn't have the mask on, but you can tell she's completely gone. She grabs a knife, Michael's knife, goes to stand by Loomis. Now, we don't know, you know, Loomis is dead, but it looks like Laurie's going to maybe stab him again. She gets gunned down by the police. So now you see all three of them are presumably dead, especially Laurie. But it does flash forward and show her again in this ward with Sheri Moon Zombie and the white horse coming down the hallway. So we don't really know. But I think it's pretty much safe to say that, yeah, Laurie is dead. And this is just like, you know, her finally, you know, she's gone. She's finally, you know, she's history. So it's an interesting dynamic with the change in the ending. And there definitely is a difference to the change, you know, to the ending in these films. One thing that kind of bothered me, though, really through the film, was when Michael would perform these kills, he was making noises, like these grunting noises. And it's like, Michael doesn't make these noises. So, I mean, yeah, Rob Zombie added his own little touches to this one. And again, I was able to look past it. You know, I got to the point where I was like, okay, this is not really a Halloween film. This is a slasher film. And as a slasher film, it's decent. It is. It's not to me though, it's definitely not a traditional Halloween film. But still, it's not the big crap show like most people say it is. But definitely has a lot of issues and a lot of problems. I would definitely recommend Halloween 1. And if you're going to see either one of them, that is the one to watch because it's a better film. But this one is just, there's things that he definitely could have left out. And he probably should have been reeled back a little bit, you know, with the production of this. Because, yeah, like I said, sometimes the directors can go off the rails if they're not pulled in a little bit. And that's kind of the case with this. Somebody should have told him, listen, we don't need to have your wife in this film again. We know you like to put her in every one of your films, but she doesn't need to be in this particular one. And leave the white horse thing out of it. I think it would have been a better film if it was just Michael going back again after Laurie, and had we just stayed in the hospital for a lot of it, because that stuff really, really worked well, and that actually felt like a pretty darn good Halloween film. It felt like Halloween. And then after that, it kind of like, it just became just a typical slasher film at that point. So, that was Halloween 2, Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. And again, not as bad as what most people say it out, make it out to be, but it's definitely not a great film, but it's definitely not the worst I've ever seen either. And, yeah, it's definitely worth checking out at least one time. It definitely is. Especially if you're a fan of the Halloween series, it's definitely worth checking out one time. So, like, subscribe, and comment if you get the chance, and I'll catch you in another episode as we continue our 31 days of Halloween. Take care.